Gentlemen, I need your full attention because right now there is one nut you may be eating every single day that is quietly destroying your testosterone, draining your energy, and killing your erections. This isn't an exaggeration. I've seen men walk into my office with blood work showing low testosterone, struggling with fatigue and intimacy, and the culprit wasn't their age alone. It was the foods they thought were healthy. And this one nut in particular is more dangerous to your masculinity than you could ever imagine. My name is Dr. James. I am a board-certified urologist and men's health specialist with over 30 years of experience helping men in their 50s, 60s, and 70s reclaim their vitality. I've spent decades in both research and clinical practice, working with thousands of men who came to me desperate for answers. And I can tell you with absolute confidence, what you snack on every day can make or break your testosterone. Here's the paradox. The very nuts and seeds that the media praises as heart-healthy or superfoods may actually be sabotaging your hormones. They may lower testosterone, raise estrogen, and worsen circulation, the perfect recipe for weaker erections. But here's the good news. Not all nuts are the enemy. In fact, there are 4 that can transform your energy, protect your hormones, and bring back the vitality you thought was gone forever. And in this video, I'll reveal exactly which 4 nuts silently destroy testosterone and which 4 boost it. So you'll know precisely what to avoid and what to enjoy starting today. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss important advice that could change your health as a man over 50. And I'd love to hear from you. If you find this video helpful, type 1 in the comments. If you don't, type 0 so I know how to serve you better. Now let's begin with the first group, the nuts that silently destroy your testosterone. And the very first on this list may shock you because it's often marketed as a heart-healthy protein. I'm talking about soy nuts, and for men over 50, they can be devastating. 1. Soy nuts, the estrogen bomb. Let me begin with the first nut on our list, the one I call the estrogen bomb. I'm talking about soy nuts. They look harmless, even healthy. You'll often see them in shiny packages at the grocery store, marketed right alongside almonds and cashews as a protein-packed, heart-friendly snack. Some men even reach for them thinking they are doing their bodies a favor, choosing soy nuts over chips or candy. But for men over 50, soy nuts are far from harmless. They can quietly poison your testosterone, and over time, they can rob you of the very thing that makes you feel like a man. Now, let me explain why. Soy contains compounds called isoflavones. These are plant estrogens, and inside your body they can bind to the same receptors that your natural estrogen uses. In other words, they mimic female hormones. A younger man with high testosterone might get away with it. His levels are high enough to buffer the damage. But for you as an older man whose testosterone has already declined naturally with age, the effects of soy are magnified. That little handful of soy nuts isn't just a snack, it's like taking a tiny estrogen pill. And this isn't just theory. The science is striking. A Harvard study found that men who regularly consumed soy had sperm counts that were 41 million lower per milliliter compared to those who didn't. Imagine that, millions and millions of sperm wiped away simply from including soy in the diet. Another study from the University of Minnesota showed that just 56 grams of soy protein, about what you'd get in 2 servings of soy nuts, lowered testosterone by 19% in only 4 weeks. Gentlemen, 19% is not a small number. When you're already experiencing age-related decline, that extra drop can make the difference between waking up with energy and morning wood or waking up exhausted and frustrated. I've seen it firsthand in my own clinic. One of my patients, a man in his late 50s, came to me complaining of fatigue, low libido, and weaker erections. He was puzzled because he thought he was eating healthy. He told me proudly that he had switched from chips and salted peanuts to soy nuts, believing they were better for his heart. But his blood work told a different story. His testosterone was nearly 25% lower than what I would have expected for a man his age. We eliminated soy from his diet completely, and within 6 weeks, his energy was back. He told me, and I remember this clearly, "Doctor, I feel like someone turned the lights back on." His morning erections returned and his confidence did too, all because he stopped eating soy nuts. And there's another layer to this problem. As men age, an enzyme in the body called aromatase becomes more active. Aromatase converts testosterone into estrogen. This means you are already fighting a battle against estrogen dominance as you grow older. When you add soy nuts to that mix with their concentrated isoflavones, it's like pouring gasoline on a fire. Your testosterone is pushed down, your estrogen rises, and the hormonal balance that keeps you strong, vital, and sexually healthy tilts in the wrong direction. Gentlemen, soy nuts are marketed as healthy, but for men over 50, they are nothing less than a hormone trap. I've watched too many men lose their spark while believing they were making a smart choice. Please don't let that be you. And if soy shocked you, just wait until you hear about the next nut on this list. It's one that's even more heavily promoted as a superfood, yet its impact on testosterone is often worse. It's the nut that looks like a friend to your health but behaves like an enemy to your manhood. Let's talk about flax seeds. 2. Flax seeds, the hidden testosterone trap. The second nut, or rather seed, on this list is one that may surprise you even more because it's been elevated to almost celebrity status in the health world. I'm talking about flax seeds. Walk into any health food store and you'll see them everywhere, ground into powders, mixed into smoothies, baked into bread, promoted as an omega-3 powerhouse and a superfood for longevity. Many men sprinkle them over their cereal or stir them into a protein shake, believing they're protecting their heart and even their prostate. But here's the truth. For men over 50, flax seeds can be one of the worst choices you can make for your testosterone and your vitality. The danger lies in compounds called lignans. These are another class of plant estrogens, and flax seeds contain them in astronomical amounts, nearly 800 times more than most other foods. To put that into perspective, just 1 tablespoon of ground flax carries more phytoestrogens than an entire cup of soy milk. Think about that. You might add a couple of spoonfuls to your smoothie every morning, and without realizing it, you're delivering a surge of estrogen-like compounds into your body day after day. And the science here is sobering. A clinical study out of Duke University tested men who consumed about 3 tablespoons of flax daily, 30 grams, for just 1 month. Their testosterone dropped by 15%. But that's not all. Flax also increases something called sex hormone binding globulin, or SHBG. This protein grabs onto your free testosterone and locks it up, making it unavailable for your body to use. So not only does flax lower your total testosterone, it also ties up what little is left. It's a double blow. I remember clearly one patient of mine, a 58-year-old gentleman who came to see me because he felt his energy was fading. He'd been diligent about his health, exercising daily, eating whole foods, and adding flax seeds to his diet every morning for years. He thought he was doing the right thing because every article he read praised flax as a men's health superfood. Yet when we tested his hormones, his free testosterone was alarmingly low. I recommended he cut out flax entirely, and within 6 weeks, his blood work told the story. His free testosterone had risen by 22%. But more importantly, he told me, "Doctor, I feel like someone switched me back on." His drive, his morning erections, his zest for life, they all began to return once he stopped consuming flax. Now, you might wonder about the omega-3 benefits. And here's another trap. Flax contains ALA, a form of omega-3, but men convert only about 5 to 8% of it into the useful forms EPA and DHA. Women convert more, up to 20%, because estrogen enhances the process. In other words, flax was practically designed by nature to benefit women's bodies more than men's. For us, the conversion is minimal, meaning we don't reap the benefits, but we absorb all the estrogen-like side effects. Gentlemen, I know flax seeds are marketed as a miracle food, but for men over 50, they can be silent testosterone killers. And I've watched too many men lose years of vitality because of this so-called superfood. Please don't fall for the marketing hype. Now, if flaxseed shocked you, what comes next will leave you speechless. Because the third nut on our list isn't just harmful, it's often sold in brightly colored packages at gas stations and grocery stores, disguised as a fun, flavorful snack. And hidden inside those sweet and salty coatings is a compound so powerful it can slash your testosterone by nearly half in just days. Let's uncover the truth about processed flavored nuts. 3. Processed flavored nuts, the testosterone disaster. The third nut on our list is one that I find especially heartbreaking because so many men grab it thinking they're making a healthy choice. You've probably seen them at the grocery store, the gas station, even at the office vending machine, honey roasted, cinnamon sugar, barbecue, or those brightly packaged nuts with that sweet licorice-like taste. Men reach for them as an alternative to candy or chips, convinced that nuts must always be good for the heart. But here's the painful truth. These flavored and heavily processed nuts are a disaster for your testosterone. One of the biggest hidden dangers comes from licorice, which is sometimes used to flavor certain nut mixes. Licorice may taste harmless, even nostalgic, but inside the male body it wreaks havoc. The active compound, glyceric acid, blocks a crucial enzyme needed to convert cholesterol into testosterone. Without that enzyme, your body's ability to produce testosterone crashes. In fact, an Italian study showed that men consuming just 7 grams of licorice per day, a tiny amount, less than what's in one small, flavored package, experienced a staggering 44% drop in testosterone in only 4 days. Imagine that. In less than a week, nearly half of a man's testosterone evaporated simply from eating something he thought was safe. But even when licorice isn't involved, processed nuts still sabotage your hormones in multiple ways. Most are roasted at extremely high temperatures, often above 300 degrees, which creates harmful compounds like acrylamides and advanced glycation end products. These toxins trigger inflammation and directly damage the Leydig cells in your testicles, the very cells responsible for producing testosterone. On top of that, the oils used to roast these nuts are usually cheap vegetable oils, loaded with omega-6 fatty acids. Ideally, your body should maintain a ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 around 4:1. But with these nuts, that ratio can skyrocket to 20:1 or higher, igniting chronic inflammation that suppresses testosterone production and harms blood flow. And then, of course, there's the sugar. That honey-roasted glaze or sweet coating turns what could have been a healthy snack into candy with a thin disguise. Sugar spikes insulin, and when insulin stays high, testosterone plummets. Over time, elevated insulin encourages belly fat storage, especially around the midsection. And belly fat, as many of my patients have learned the hard way, isn't just cosmetic. Fat tissue produces aromatase, the enzyme that converts testosterone into estrogen. So now you have less testosterone, more estrogen, and a body chemistry working against your energy, your confidence, and your erections. I'll never forget one patient of mine who came into my office with testosterone levels barely above 280, clinically low. He wasn't overweight, he wasn't inactive, but he was eating an entire can of honey-roasted mixed nuts every single day. He truly believed he had found a healthier snack to replace cookies and chips. We cut the processed nuts from his diet and replaced them with raw alternatives. Just 3 months later, his testosterone had climbed to 425. He lost 12 pounds without changing anything else, and he told me he finally felt like himself again. That kind of turnaround is not rare. It's what happens when men stop poisoning their hormones with foods dressed up as healthy. Gentlemen, I know it feels like the world is stacked against you. Foods that are marketed as nutritious often hide dangers for men over 50, and processed flavored nuts are a prime example. They look innocent, but they slowly drain your masculinity day after day. But as bad as that sounds, there's one more nut on this list that deserves even more caution. It's not coated in sugar, it doesn't need flashy marketing, and yet it hides a different kind of danger. It's one of the most common snacks in America, found in nearly every pantry, and for older men it may silently erode testosterone through inflammation, toxins, and liver stress. Let's talk about peanuts. 4. Peanuts, the inflammatory trap. The fourth nut we need to talk about is one that almost every man in America has eaten since childhood. It's in our lunch boxes, our peanut butter sandwiches, our ballpark snacks, and even the bars we frequent. I'm talking about peanuts. Now, technically, peanuts are not even true nuts. They're legumes, but they've become so ingrained in our diets that most men don't think twice before eating a handful or spreading a thick layer of peanut butter on toast. And while peanuts can feel like comfort food, for men over 50, they often act as an invisible trap that chips away at testosterone and overall health. The first problem is their fat profile. Peanuts are extremely high in omega-6 fatty acids and contain very little omega-3 to balance it out. Your body thrives when that ratio is close to 4:1. But peanuts push the balance in the wrong direction, fueling chronic inflammation that damages blood vessels, disrupts hormone production, and slows recovery. And remember, inflammation is one of testosterone's greatest enemies. It doesn't just make your joints ache, it also tells your body to downshift reproductive function, because in an inflamed state, your body prioritizes survival, not vitality. But there's another darker issue with peanuts: aflatoxins. These are toxic byproducts of mold that commonly grow on peanuts and peanut products. Even small amounts can strain your liver. And your liver, gentlemen, is not just a detox organ. It plays a central role in hormone metabolism, clearing excess estrogen and helping process the proteins that transport testosterone in your bloodstream. When the liver is impaired, estrogen can rise unchecked and testosterone can become less available. It's like cutting the power lines to your hormonal system. I've seen men who didn't drink alcohol, didn't take medications, but still had sluggish livers, only to discover they were eating peanut butter daily. And then, of course, there's the issue of allergies and sensitivities. Even if you're not allergic in the traditional sense, many men develop low-grade immune responses to peanuts. This constant hidden inflammation can chip away at energy and testosterone over the years. It doesn't cause a dramatic reaction like hives or swelling. It's quieter than that. It shows up as fatigue, stubborn belly fat, or lower drive in the bedroom. I once worked with a man in his early 60s who swore by peanut butter. He ate it every morning with breakfast and sometimes again as a late-night snack. His labs showed borderline testosterone, but also elevated liver enzymes. We made one simple change. We swapped peanut butter for almond butter in moderation and encouraged omega-3 rich foods to balance his fats. 3 months later, not only did his liver enzymes return to normal, but his testosterone had climbed by nearly 80 points. And when I asked how he felt, he said with a grin, "Doctor, I never thought peanut butter could be holding me back. I feel lighter, clearer, and more myself again." Now, I'm not saying peanuts are poison, but for men over 50, they are not the daily staple they've been made out to be. If you enjoy peanut butter, save it for an occasional treat, not a daily habit. And when you do indulge, choose organic Valencia peanuts when possible. They tend to carry lower levels of aflatoxins. Gentlemen, it's easy to fall into the trap of convenience and tradition, but if you truly want to protect your testosterone, it's time to rethink peanuts. They are far from harmless, and when combined with the other 3 nuts I've already mentioned, they can quietly sabotage your manhood. But here's the good news. Not all nuts are enemies. In fact, some are powerful allies, so potent they can act almost like natural testosterone supplements disguised as food. And the very first one I'm about to share is so rich in a critical mineral that just a couple of nuts a day can transform your hormone health. Let's talk about Brazil nuts. 5. Brazil nuts, the testosterone powerhouse. Now that we've covered the nuts that quietly sabotage your masculinity, let's turn to one of the most powerful allies you have in reclaiming your vitality. If there's a single nut I could prescribe to almost every man over 50, it would be this one. I'm talking about Brazil nuts. Large, rich, and almost creamy in flavor, they're more than just a snack. For men your age, they can be like a natural testosterone supplement delivered by nature herself. The secret lies in a mineral most men don't think about, but that your testicles cannot function without: selenium. One single Brazil nut can provide nearly twice your daily requirement of selenium. And this isn't just about checking a nutrient box. Selenium protects your testosterone-producing Leydig cells from oxidative damage, the slow, rusting process that accelerates as we age. Think of selenium as a protective shield, allowing your hormone factories to keep running even when stress, toxins, and inflammation try to shut them down. But that's only part of the story. Brazil nuts also contain boron, another overlooked mineral that plays a quiet but critical role in freeing up testosterone. You see, much of your testosterone is bound by a protein called SHBG, which makes it unavailable for your body to use. Boron helps reduce SHBG levels, which means more free testosterone circulating in your blood, the kind that gives you energy, confidence, and sexual performance. Research shows that just 10 milligrams of boron per day can raise free testosterone by nearly 30% while lowering estrogen at the same time. Just a small handful of Brazil nuts can deliver enough boron to make a noticeable difference. I've had patients who came into my office tired, discouraged, and convinced their best days were behind them. One man in particular, 61 years old, told me he felt like he was fading away. His drive was low, his erections had weakened, and he couldn't focus at work. He didn't want medication, he wanted something natural. I suggested he start with a simple habit, 1 to 2 Brazil nuts every morning with breakfast. 6 weeks later, he came back beaming. His energy had improved, his mind felt sharper, and his wife noticed changes too. When we checked his labs, his testosterone was up by more than 100 points. Sometimes, gentlemen, the simplest solutions yield the greatest results. But let me offer a word of caution. With Brazil nuts, moderation is key. Too much selenium can actually become toxic, so you don't want to eat them by the handful all day. 1 to 2 nuts per day is the sweet spot, enough to boost your hormones without overdoing it. And because Brazil nuts are high in delicate oils that can spoil, I always recommend buying them fresh, storing them in the freezer, and discarding any that taste bitter or metallic. When you enjoy them in the morning, you're giving your body selenium right at the time of day when testosterone production peaks naturally, which amplifies the benefit. Gentlemen, Brazil nuts are proof that the right foods can make a remarkable difference in how you feel as you age. A tiny change, a couple of nuts each morning, can help restore vitality, energy, and the spark you thought you'd lost. And as powerful as Brazil nuts are, they're not the only allies on your side. The next nut I'm about to share has a completely different profile. It's low in omega-6, loaded with healthy fats, and supports testosterone by fighting inflammation and improving insulin sensitivity. It's a nut so rich in monounsaturated fat, it even outshines olive oil. Let's talk about macadamia nuts. 6. Macadamia nuts, the anti-inflammatory ally. The next nut on our list is one that doesn't get nearly as much attention as it deserves. You don't see it everywhere like peanuts or almonds, and it isn't hyped up as a superfood on every health blog. But for men over 50, macadamia nuts are one of the quiet heroes of testosterone health. They're buttery, satisfying, and unlike so many other nuts, they actually work with your biology rather than against it. What makes macadamia nuts so unique is their fat profile. They're incredibly low in omega-6 fatty acids, the type of fats that drive inflammation when they're out of balance, and at the same time, they're loaded with monounsaturated fats. In fact, nearly 80% of their fat is monounsaturated, the same kind of fat that makes olive oil famous. But macadamias surpass olive oil in one important way. They deliver this fat in a form that men can easily incorporate into their daily diet. And this kind of fat is critical for testosterone production. Without enough healthy fats, your body simply doesn't have the raw material to build hormones. Another key benefit of macadamia nuts is their effect on insulin sensitivity. As we age, many men develop some degree of insulin resistance, even if they're not overweight. When your body stops responding to insulin properly, inflammation rises, belly fat accumulates, and testosterone production declines. But diets rich in monounsaturated fats like those in macadamias improve insulin sensitivity, which means your body manages blood sugar more efficiently. That reduces inflammation, protects your arteries, and supports the delicate balance of hormones that keeps you strong and energetic. There's also a nutritional bonus here that often gets overlooked. Macadamias are rich in thiamine, also known as vitamin B1. Thiamine plays a crucial role in energy metabolism and nerve function. I've seen countless men drag themselves through the day with low energy, only to find that simple nutrients like the B vitamins were quietly missing from their diets. By providing thiamine alongside healthy fats, macadamias not only support testosterone, but also fuel the energy systems that allow you to feel alive and engaged again. One patient of mine, a man in his mid-60s, used to joke that his afternoons felt like he was moving through mud. He would crash after lunch, barely able to focus. He wasn't eating junk food, but his diet leaned heavily on processed carbs and very few healthy fats. I encouraged him to swap his afternoon cookie habit for a small handful of raw macadamia nuts, about 10 or 12. Within a few weeks, he reported something remarkable. His afternoons no longer dragged. His mind felt clearer, his energy more stable, and when we checked his testosterone, it had climbed by almost 90 points. He looked at me and said, "Doctor, it's such a small change, but it feels like I've turned back the clock." Macadamias aren't the cheapest nut on the shelf, but sometimes the best investments are the ones that pay you back in energy, vitality, and long-term health. I always advise buying them raw or dry roasted without salt, storing them properly, and keeping portion sizes moderate. A small handful each day is all you need. Gentlemen, macadamia nuts are more than a snack. They're an ally, quiet, powerful, and dependable. And when combined with other testosterone-friendly foods, they can make a noticeable difference in how you feel. But while macadamias protect you from inflammation and support your hormones through healthy fats, the next nut works in a completely different way. It's not even truly a nut at all, but a small root vegetable that's been used for centuries in traditional cultures to boost stamina and fertility. And modern science now shows it can raise testosterone and improve blood flow in ways most men never expect. Let's talk about tiger nuts. 7. Tiger nuts, the ancient vitality secret. The next one on our list isn't even a nut at all, though most people treat it like one. In truth, tiger nuts are small tubers, root-like little treasures that have been eaten for thousands of years in parts of Africa and Spain. But don't let their humble appearance fool you. For men over 50, tiger nuts may be one of the best-kept secrets for restoring vitality, testosterone, and even sexual performance. They don't come in shiny packages with bold marketing, and maybe that's why so many men overlook them. But what they lack in hype, they make up for with a unique nutritional profile that seems almost designed for the aging male body. Tiger nuts are rich in an amino acid called arginine. Arginine is the raw material your body uses to create nitric oxide, a gas molecule that relaxes blood vessels and improves circulation. Better circulation doesn't just lower blood pressure, it enhances blood flow everywhere in the body, including where it matters most for erections. Many men I work with don't realize that the strength of their erections often depends as much on vascular health as it does on testosterone. Tiger nuts support both. By improving nitric oxide production, they help restore the blood flow that makes intimacy not just possible, but pleasurable again. But the benefits don't end there. Tiger nuts also deliver zinc and vitamin E, two nutrients that are essential for male reproductive health. Zinc is critical for testosterone synthesis, and vitamin E is a powerful antioxidant that protects testicular cells from oxidative stress. Together, they form a protective shield for your hormone-producing systems. And there's more. Tiger nuts are loaded with resistant starch, a special type of fiber that feeds the good bacteria in your gut. A healthy gut microbiome influences everything from digestion to immune function to hormone balance. I've seen men improve their energy, mood, and yes, testosterone simply by supporting gut health. Tiger nuts offer that in every bite. I recall a man in his late 50s who had been struggling with fatigue and a sense of decline he couldn't shake. He wasn't ready for medication and he wanted to try something natural. I recommended adding a small serving of tiger nuts to his evening snack, just a quarter cup. Within a month, he told me something remarkable. His energy had lifted, his digestion improved, and he felt a renewed spark in the bedroom. When we checked his labs, his testosterone had climbed modestly, but his free testosterone, the form his body could actually use, was up nearly 20%. He looked me in the eye and said, "Doctor, I feel like myself again." That's the kind of quiet but powerful change tiger nuts can deliver. Now, they may not be as easy to find as almonds or cashews, but many health food stores and online shops carry them. You can eat them raw, roasted, or even ground into flour or made into a creamy milk. Their naturally sweet taste makes them a pleasure to enjoy, and unlike processed snacks, they won't spike your blood sugar or trigger inflammation. Gentlemen, tiger nuts remind us that sometimes the most ancient foods hold the most modern answers. They nourish your body in ways that support not just testosterone, but overall vitality and energy. And yet, as impressive as tiger nuts are, the final nut on this list takes things to another level. This one has been scientifically proven to improve erectile function scores in just 3 weeks. It's a nut that combines arginine, antioxidants, and cholesterol support all in one tasty shell. And the best part? Cracking them open can actually lower stress, a hidden bonus for testosterone. Let's talk about pistachios. 8. Pistachios, the bedroom booster. If there is one nut that truly deserves the title of bedroom booster, it's pistachios. They may be small, but what they deliver for a man's health is nothing short of remarkable. And unlike some of the more exotic choices we've talked about, pistachios are widely available, delicious, and even fun to eat. There's something satisfying about cracking open that little shell, almost like uncovering a secret treasure. But here's the real secret. For men over 50, pistachios can do more than just satisfy your hunger. They can actively improve your testosterone levels, circulation, and even your performance where it matters most. One of the keys lies in their rich supply of arginine, the amino acid that boosts nitric oxide production. Better nitric oxide means better blood flow, and blood flow, gentlemen, is the foundation of strong erections. In fact, a clinical study found that men who ate just 3 ounces of pistachios daily for 3 weeks improved their erectile function scores significantly. Imagine that. 3 weeks of a simple snack leading to measurable, life-changing improvements in intimacy. That's the kind of natural support many men are searching for, and pistachios deliver it without side effects, without prescriptions, just the quiet power of good nutrition. But pistachios don't stop at circulation. They're also rich in antioxidants like lutein and gamma-tocopherol, a form of vitamin E that protects your blood vessels and reproductive cells from oxidative stress. By reducing oxidative damage, pistachios keep your arteries flexible and your testosterone-producing cells healthy. And let's not overlook cholesterol. High cholesterol can block arteries and lower testosterone production, a double blow to male vitality. Studies show that pistachios lower LDL, the so-called bad cholesterol, while raising HDL, the good cholesterol. That means better heart health, better circulation, and a stronger hormonal foundation. I remember a man in his early 60s who came to me embarrassed, almost whispering about his struggles in the bedroom. He was otherwise healthy, but his confidence had taken a hit, and it was affecting his marriage. He didn't want pills, he wanted a natural solution. I suggested he add a handful of pistachios to his daily routine. A month later, he returned with a smile I'll never forget. He told me he and his wife were reconnecting in ways they hadn't in years. His energy was better, his confidence restored, and his blood work showed lower cholesterol alongside improved testosterone levels. Sometimes the smallest daily habits make the biggest difference. What I love most about pistachios is how approachable they are. You can snack on them during a ball game, share them with friends, or enjoy them after dinner. They're portable, tasty, and satisfying. And every time you crack open a shell, you're not just enjoying a nut. You're unlocking better circulation, stronger hormones, and a renewed sense of vitality. Gentlemen, pistachios are proof that food can be medicine. They remind us that your health and your masculinity aren't slipping away with age. They can be nurtured, supported, and even reignited with simple choices made every day. And now that you've learned the 4 nuts that destroy testosterone and the 4 that build it back up, it's time to bring this journey full circle. In the conclusion, I want to tie everything together: why these choices matter, how small changes can transform your future, and the single most important step you can take today to reclaim your strength and confidence as a man over 50. Conclusion: bringing it all together. Gentlemen, we've walked through 2 very different paths today. On one side, 4 nuts that quietly steal your strength: soy, peanuts, flax seeds, and cashews, foods that seem harmless but chip away at testosterone over time. On the other side, 4 powerful allies: Brazil nuts, macadamias, tiger nuts, and pistachios that can lift your hormones, improve your energy, sharpen your focus, and even restore the spark of intimacy. What I want you to remember is this: the choices you make each day are not small. They shape your health, your confidence, and your legacy as a man. I've seen lives transform from simple swaps, and I know yours can too. So take this knowledge and use it. Start with just 1 change today, because you're not finished, not by a long shot, and your best years can still be ahead of you.